shots for a KTM 390 Duke. You know, I mean, it's...
Yeah, so I got myself one. So yeah guys, this is a 2015 390 Duke, the older model obviously, not the newer one with the TFT display. You might remember I test rode one of the newer ones sometime last year when I was shopping for my new motorcycle, and the new 390 Duke and the Interceptor, those two kind of were my final contenders. So why the 390 Duke? Why now? Why an old model? Well, why not? Yeah, it's an older model. I mean, if you... yeah, I know, I do care about the TFT display and all those modern techie stuff, but this bike in itself, without all those gadgetry, just the bike itself, the engine, the chassis, you know, all that, the mechanicals, it's a brilliant bike. Even without all that electronic stuff. And if you remember that video that I made back in 2017, I was actually talking about this bike because the newer one was still not out. It had been announced at the EICMA back then, but it was still not out on the roads. So yeah, there's actually one something I have planned that I'm not really going to talk about right now, but I don't want to jinx it. Well, the Interceptor and this one, do they complement each other? Yeah, kind of. This is more sporty, a bit more fun. Maybe the long distance, oh, look at the view there, it's pretty awesome, isn't it? I don't know if the GoPro is capturing it properly. So yeah, this one's long distance touring capability. Solo, it really depends a lot on your endurance, you know, how well your body can take it, because it's a little small, a little cramped, which is what makes it sporty and fun. But yeah, today is the first day I'm out on the highways on this one. The work has been crazy. I got it a little over a week back. It was at the dealership for a few days. You know, a lot of things had to be done. Tires needed to be changed and a few other things here and there. So yeah, today's the first time I'm out on the highways, and it's fun. to be quite buzzy and vibey at higher revs, but no, it's quite smooth actually. Yeah, you can kind of feel it's a single cylinder, but it's not even close to being, you know, irritating or uncomfortable. Yeah, at little lower revs, like say around 4 to 5,000, yeah, you can feel a bit of the vibrations, but that's kind of I mean, when you're out on the highways, you would usually not be at those revs. So yeah, I keep rambling on. So why did I get the bike? Yeah, I have some plans. Once I get it rolling, get it into motion, I'll probably share with you, but not just yet. Okay, so bear with me on that one. But yeah, even just as a second bike, it's kind of fun. It's great as a city bike as long as you don't have very bad traffic, because this bike, this old 390 Duke, is kind of known for its overheating tendencies in heavy traffic. Right now, you know, post-lockdown Bangalore traffic, it's getting worse. It's getting worse almost week by week, but it's still okay. Still not that bad. So yeah, if you're like really gridlocked traffic, then this is probably not the best bike to be in. But on the other hand, it's quite easy to filter in this bike. So, like I was saying, you know, why not the new Duke? Why the old one? Well, for one, you can get it for a lot less than the new one. This is a 2015. Yeah, getting a good one, that's difficult. Because, you know, a lot of people don't really take care of them that well. This one has pretty low mileage. In 5 years, it has only done a little over 11,000 kilometers, which is, yeah, I know it's quite low. The guy was a college student when he got it, so he used it in college, and once he was out of college, I think he didn't use it much. So the last few years, I think it's been very infrequently used. So mileage is low, but yeah, I know for motorcycles that's not really a good thing. The tires, the front one was still on the original, the factory tire, which was worn out and had to be changed. The rear had already been changed, but even though that tire had some tread left in it, it was suffering from dry rot. You know, even the sidewalls were cracking. So I got that changed as well. So I got brand new Metzeler Sportec M5, the stock tire on the Indian Dukes. They're pretty good. They're known for their stickiness, although they do wear faster as a result, but that's fine. I had one of these tires on my Sportster as the back tire, and yeah, it was quite good, quite sticky. This rear tire happens to be the exact same size as my Sportster Super Low. So, you know, I had talked about it once in one of my earlier videos. The rear tire for the super low was pretty easy to find, pretty inexpensive too in India, but the front tire was another story. These are the Antaragange hills. We went up there. I rode up there with my wife on the Interceptor a couple of weeks back. I didn't vlog. I didn't really record. So yeah, it's a good place, you know, to go out riding. So I'll take you up there one of these days. You know, sixth gear on this one feels very much like an overdrive. You really get to use sixth gear comfortably in the city, and below 100 kilometers per hour, it feels a little. I mean, when you accelerate in sixth gear, say from around 80 or 90, it feels a little lugging. You know, it's raining. If it rains any heavier, I might have to put away my GoPro because it's not waterproof with the mic adapter, and then I'll probably have to switch to the Senna. Even that I'm not sure, because even that's plugged into my power bank, the external battery. So even that one's connections are not. It's got pretty strong engine braking, you know, much stronger than anything I've experienced, at least in recent times. So in the city, if you're in the right gear, you almost don't have to use the brakes much. It's just, you know, accelerate, decelerate just with the throttle itself. But that being said, the throttle, at least in the lower ranges, I mean, like when you just barely opening it from the fully closed position, it's a little jerky. I mean, it has a bit of an on-off nature, you know, where it's like, oh, you know, like you're going and you're not going, you're going and you're not going. It's very hard to maintain a steady speed, steady engine RPM, or you know what I mean, right? So at low speeds, it gets a bit jerky. I should say low engine speeds, because once you open the throttle up more, once you're in higher RPMs, and then it's pretty smooth. So guys, so what all did I change apart from the tires? The brake pads. I changed all the fluids, the oil, the brake fluid, front and rear, and also the coolant, and that's about it. Yeah, I had to change one of the brake hoses because the earlier owner, he had a dog who had chewed the cable, I mean the hose, the brake hose. It was still functional, it wasn't leaking and it wasn't obstructing, but I just, you know, it didn't look good, so I changed that. And yeah, there was, you know, it had been bitten, and so there was a slight risk of leakages later on, so yeah. And And oh yeah, and the front fork seals, fork oil seals. That's a notorious item on these Dukes. I think especially in Indian conditions, you know, with the upside down forks and the forks being so down low over there, they get exposed to all the dirt and mud, and that gradually damages the oil seals, and that's a very common item to go bad frequently on these Dukes, at least in India. So yeah, those had to be changed, and that's pretty much all. One thing about this bike, maybe it's that sporty riding posture. It doesn't feel like you're doing very high speeds. Like doing 100 on this, on these roads, it actually feels like you're going slow. Whereas on my Interceptor or even on my Sportster, 100 would feel pretty good on these roads. So it's only when you're doing like 120 or 30 it feels like you're doing you know, fast speeds. I don't know how accurate the speedometer is. That's something I need to check. But being a KTM, I don't think it's gonna be too far off. Things for sure, this is not a bike that you would enjoy riding slow. This gets boring, you know. It's probably this riding posture. You just don't like doing slow speeds. It depends on the road, of course. I mean, on some roads you would be fine doing 30 or 40 and that would feel fast. It really depends on the road, but what I'm trying to say is you're gonna be wanting to be on the higher range of that safe speed for whatever road you're riding on. So how does it compare to the new Duke, the 2017 onwards model? I had ridden that only for a short period, you know, when I had that test ride. Click there if you want to see that. So if you remember, on that Duke, I was quite surprised by the power and the performance. On this one, it's still there, but I think there's a huge difference in the throttle response. So this one is a old school cable actuated throttle. The new one has a electronic, you know, ride-by-wire throttle. And the throttle response on the new one is much faster. I mean, the throttle travel and how the engine reacts to the throttle input, that's much more sharp than this one. This is a lot more linear. So it just doesn't surprise you as much as the new one. And other than that, this feels a lot more raw and crude. Although, I mean, when I say crude, I don't mean that in a bad way. Although, I mean, crude does sound bad, right? It's a little more visceral feeling. You can actually feel everything happening: the powertrain, the gearbox, the transmission, the chain. That's probably because the chain is a little worn out on this one. Yeah, the chain is one thing I need to replace because, well, see, it hasn't done a lot of miles, but of course most people in India don't really do proper chain maintenance. It's not worn out. The sprocket teeth they look fine, but the chain is kind of stretched unequally. So one side is, so when you adjust it, one side is loose and one side is tight. So it's very hard to get the right adjustment there. So just to prevent it from getting too tight, you have to leave it a little loose on one side. So yeah, let it run for a little longer, and then I'll probably change the chain and sprockets. So yeah, compared to the new Duke, this feels a lot more raw, unrefined. Actually feels like a sport bike. By sport bike, I don't mean the hunkered down, full fairing sport bike, but a machine that's primarily built for sporting purposes, for racing. The comfort comes second. It's the performance that comes first. So kind of feels like a race bike that way. Not that I have any experience on race bikes. But that huge surge of power that I had on the new Duke, that kind of scared me, if you remember, from the test ride. That's still here. It's just unless you're really twisting the throttle, it takes some time for it to get there. Basically, from around 6,000 RPM, the characteristic of the engine kind of changes. Below that, it's kind of easy going. Relatively. You can feel the putter of the single cylinder, but beyond that, it kind of gets into a vrooming sound, and you get a sudden burst of power that if you're not used to it, it can take you by surprise. Of course, I'm in top gear now, but even now, see at around 7,000, you can feel it. I think 7,000 is also where the maximum torque comes in, 7,000 or 7,500. So yeah, maybe that's why you feel that. Low down, the torque is a little lacking, of course, compared to the other bikes I've owned in recent times. But it's not that bad, you can easily ride it in the city. And if you really want more torque, you just have to downshift a gear or two. See, this is what I was talking about. I'm doing 88, 90 roughly. 6th gear, around 5,500 RPM. So try to accelerate, yeah. See, it's lugging a bit. It's accelerating, but it's lugging a bit. So yeah, 6th gear is really tall. It's really like an overdrive. I think it is an overdrive if you look at the gear ratios. But really tall, which is good for high-speed riding. Because after all, it is a 373cc, a single-cylinder engine. It's not that big. It's just that, the bike itself is so small and light that it has such good performance. The brakes, they're good. They have really good stopping power. I mean the brakes and the Metzeler tires together, but they're not very sharp. They are progressive, yes. The feel is good enough, although I would have liked them to be a little sharper. Hey, I think I spoke too soon about the riding comfort on this bike. It's actually not bad. It's quite good, you know. I mean, like I had said on my test ride of the other Duke, your feet are quite far back, but because of the upright and straight handlebars, your torso is relatively upright. It's a pretty comfortable posture, I think. So guys, that's pretty much all I had to talk about today. Yeah, so 2 bikes plus the Vespa. Yeah, I've got to make sure I ride all of them often enough, you know. And then there's the car as well, which is hardly getting driven. I just take it out once a week just to, keep the battery charged and all that. Yeah, battery should be fine. I mean, I do have a pretty long ride, a drive when I do take it out. So, yeah. But now that I have this, if the city traffic is good, I may just be using this more often than the Vespa, because that was my city bike earlier. The only thing is, if the traffic is bad where this can get overheated, yeah, then I'll prefer not to use this. Oh wow, that was pretty rough. So alright guys, that's all I have. Catch you on the next one. Ride safe. Bye bye.